My name is Connie Grinstead.
And did you know Tara Grinstead?
She was my stepdaughter.
And who is Billy Grinstead?
He's my husband, Tara's dad.
And the statement that you're giving today, is this on behalf of yourself, you and Mr. Billy, or who is it on behalf of?
On behalf of me and him.
Okay. If you have something you'd like to tell the judge, you can go ahead and do that now.
Should I look at you or?
However you want to do it, Ms.
Okay.
Grinstead.
Anyway, my name is Connie Grinstead, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of Tara's dad and myself. October 2005 was one of the most painful journeys that I think any family could ever be faced with. There are words that are seared in our memories forever. Missing, disappeared, vanished, and murdered. For over 11 years, we went to bed every night wondering where Tara was, and we woke up every morning with the same question: where is she? We wondered if she was dead or alive. We knew if she was alive, she was being held against her will. And that caused even more anxiety because we knew then she was being abused. Through the years, any time we learned that remains had been found, it was devastating to us as we waited to find out if those remains were Tara's. Some days we even had hope that we might find her alive, because that had happened in other cases with young women who had been gone longer than Tara. But there were so many days when the heartache was so great that we could barely even function. Young children in our family were afraid to even go out and play because they thought if somebody took Tara, they might take them too. My elderly mother was so distraught over Tara's disappearance. She sat day after day with her face in her hands because she was worried and upset because we couldn't find Tara. My mother had a stroke and died 28 days after Tara disappeared. The workers in the home where she lived told me that they fully believed the stress of Tara's disappearance brought on that stroke that ended my mother's life in a matter of hours. Tara was reduced from a vibrant, successful, hard-working young woman filled with hopes and dreams. She was reduced to just a few bones and teeth. There was barely enough left of her to even fill a manila envelope. Then after she was murdered, load after load of wood was put on her as they burned her lifeless body. They tried to make sure there would be nothing left of her. What they did to her body after she was murdered spoke volumes to us about what kind of hearts they had. And then even weeks after she was murdered and her body had been burned, they laughed about it at a party. They thought it was funny. What kind of person could do that to another human being? It wasn't funny then, and it's not funny now. It's bad enough that we lost Tara, but to find that we lost her the way we did just made everything so much more painful for us. Tara was a good teacher. She encouraged her students to reach their full potential. She wanted them to be prepared for college or whatever career path they had chosen. She didn't just want them to do well in her class. She wanted them to do well in life. She was a teacher in life, and we believe she is still a teacher in death. We hope others will realize the consequences of choosing a life of alcohol and drugs, the consequences of murdering someone and burning their body, and the consequences of devastating the lives of those that she left behind. For anyone who has chosen that life or is even being tempted, we plead with you not to take that path. No good will ever come out of that for them or anybody that loves them. Tara lost her life, and that left a hole in our hearts that can never be filled. We will feel the pain of this loss for as long as we live. We are still left with painful questions. Did she know she was going to die? Did she beg for her life? Did she suffer? I don't think mere words will ever be adequate to truly express the deep sorrow and grief that we have endured for over 16 and a half years. Tara loved life. Her thoughts were always focused on the future. She always set high goals for herself, and then she worked hard to achieve them. She already had her master's degree and was scheduled to complete her specialist degree in just 2 months. She had already applied to a doctoral program. She had dreams of getting married, buying a house, and having children. She will never fulfill those dreams, and she'll never reach another goal that she had set for herself. All we can do now is hold those dreams in our hearts, because we will never see her fulfill them. Tara was murdered 3 weeks before her 31st birthday. Her birthday presents were already bought and wrapped. Some of her Christmas presents were already bought. The defendant says he stayed quiet all those years because of fear of Bo. But Bo was in prison many years ago, and yet this defendant remains silent. He also wants us to believe that he couldn't bear to think that Bo may have stolen Tara's purse, and he felt it was his duty to return it to her. That didn't sound like fear of Bo to us. But then he did nothing when he thought Bo had killed her. Did he feel that stealing was worse than murder? It certainly sounds that way. We made the decision back in 2005 that we were not going to accuse or defend anyone because we did not know what happened to Tara. We stood firm in our decision up until the arrest of 2017, and even then we did not criticize the defendant. We waited for this case to go to trial. But sadly, this case has been tried in the court of public opinion and on discussion boards and on podcasts for years. Some even tried to drive the narrative in the way they referred to as making it entertaining. There were even cross-country tours with Tara trivia questions. That hurt us deeply. We put a letter in the Ocilla Star every year from the time Tara was reported missing right up until the arrest in 2017. We pleaded and begged for information about what could have happened to Tara. In one letter, we even said, if it was an accident and you didn't mean to hurt her, please just tell us and we will stand with you and help you make things right. But the silence was deafening. His confession in 2017 seemed genuine and sincere, and he looked remorseful. Although he wasn't 100% clear on every detail, he looked like a person who was ready to do the right thing. But his testimony on the witness stand only seemed coached, well-rehearsed, and sought self-serving benefits. It was amazing to see how crystal clear his memory became after spending some time in jail. Billy and I are not spiteful, vindictive people, and we don't believe in hating anyone, but we will always hate what this defendant did to Tara and to all of us who loved her. We had made the decision that regardless of the verdict, guilty or not guilty, we would not make any statements to the media afterwards. We made that decision out of respect for both families. Unfortunately, the defendant's counsel and family did not grant us that same respect. In fact, the giggles and excitement they expressed when they did their interview would have been more appropriate if your football team had just beaten their biggest rival. There are no winners here. We were shocked when a member of the defendant's family said that she thought the defendant's words on the stand should give us peace, because at least now we could know that Tara was never coming back. And then she went on to add that the defendant didn't even have to tell us that, sounding as if it was somehow she considered it to be a gift that we should be thankful for. We would like to add to that list of things the defendant did not have to do. He did not have to participate in a murder. He did not have to burn her body. And he did not have to stay silent all those years while we were frantically searching for Tara. We pray that people will remember that the defendant was not the victim. Tara was. We lost a lot when we lost Tara, but she lost everything when her life was taken, a life that God had given her. We do not want the defendant to leave this courtroom today believing that anything he has ever said or done in regards to Tara from 2005 right up until today has ever been helpful to us or brought us any kind of peace at all, and it never will. Whether he spends his days in a building with bars on the doors or walks as a free man, we know he will never be free of what he has done. We pray he will seek and find God's forgiveness. His actions imposed a life sentence on us, one of great loss and sadness. Every day that we get up, we have to find a way to cope with what he did. Tara's voice was silenced forever when she was murdered. So we are here today to be her voice, and we humbly and respectfully ask this court to give him the maximum sentence. Even that would be less time than what we spent looking for her. Thank you for allowing our thoughts and feelings to be heard today.
Thank you, Ms. Grinstead. Any questions?